couple announcements to make. I know you didn't come here to hear me talk, so I'm going to try to make them real quick. And then I'll toss the ball to Kim. And then we have Joshua Salmans here, so I'm really excited to have pitch the ball to him next. So first of all, we have some upcoming dates. One exciting thing that we're doing here is we're starting some critique groups. So on March 28th, 7 p.m. at the Go to Key Library, we're going to do a kickoff meeting. And we have a little committee that's pulled together, and they're putting together critique guidelines. So we'll talk quickly about that. And then we have some folks on our board and in our group that have done various forms of critique. So they're going to explain all that. And then what I really want to do is have 4 or 5 people in critique groups, and I'm expecting to have several. Each will have their own culture. They'll have a different day that they meet. So we're kind of going to get everyone together and then start breaking out into smaller groups so we can figure out how to do all that. So if you're not even sure how critique group works, come to the meeting. If you're gung-ho and ready to go and maybe even want to be a moderator, jump right in. We're excited to have this whole new process starting. Tom Nichols over here is one of the board members, or one of the members that's helping on that critique group. So he's had lots of experience in that area, and also James Stoddard. So I'm excited about that. The other thing you all need to know is that our April meeting has been moved. We have, usually it's the second Saturday of each month. This time we're moving it to April 2nd because the second Saturday is the Lubbock Art Festival. And we have a little table over here where we're collecting items that if you want to bring us your book and donate it, we're going to put some baskets together and raffle them off at the book festival. So if you're there at the Lubbock Civic Center on April 9th and 10th, come along. Check out what our baskets are. We're also giving away a Kindle Fire tablet and some other things. So if you have a book you'd like to donate, you can put it up there or bring it to our April meeting. We would love to have it. Linda Brody is putting all that together. She's our president-elect. She's not here today. She had a surgery, so if you have extra prayers, you can send them to her. She's doing well. I saw her yesterday, but that's why she's not here promoting it. We're also collecting anything that's new, not been used, that maybe you got for a gift and don't want anymore. We can put it in one of the baskets and, get a little fundraising for Caprock. Book Festival, the Lubbock Book Festival was amazing last year. They're doing it again. The date is October 15th and 16th at the Mahon Library. And if you want to have an author booth, or if you are or a vendor organization, sign up soon. They are going to fill up. I will send a link in our next newsletter for it, but if you want to look it up on your own, it's Lubbock Book Festival or Literacy Lubbock. And you can find them either on the Facebook page or on the internet. You can go sign up. It's $40 for a booth, and you have opportunity to sell your books and meet a lot of people. We also announced a while back that we have an anthology, and we've had to postpone that. But the theme was Never Say Never. We're still doing it. So if you've started writing that, keep writing. We will come to it soon. We actually have some open board positions. So if you're interested in being on our board, and we have a bunch of people that are brand new that jumped right on and wanted to be part of that. So they're excited and gung-ho. So if you want to be one of those folks, let me know. We have positions open in events and workshops, anthology, secretary, and hospitality. So we'd love to have you. We'll get you right up on board. And a lot of us are here doing these jobs, so we'll help you with it. It won't be stressful, I promise. And we're a great board. We're a lot of fun. And that's it. I'm going to pass the mic over to Kim. And Kim Harris, I don't know if I introduced myself. I'm KJ Waters, and I'm the president this year. Kim was president last year, and she's doing our programs and has a few announcements about programs.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Before I introduce our speaker for today, I wanted to give a little tease of all the great programs we have coming up, because we do have some fantastic programs. Next month, for April, as KJ said, we're going to meet a week early, so April 2nd. Natalie Bright will be here. Natalie is a writer in the Amarillo area. She has co-written, besides writing a Chuck Wagon cookbook and children's books and a wealth of things, she has also co-written a series of books. She published 6 books with Denise McAllister in 2021, and they have signed a contract for 3 more in a new series. So she's going to talk about the process of co-writing. I don't know about y'all, but I feel like that would be a challenge, but also really exciting. So she's going to talk about best tips for that, what has worked for them and what has not. So it's going to be very interesting. In May, we have scheduled an indie bookstore panel, so we can talk about working with local bookstores, getting our books into bookstores and promoting that. In June, we have local luminary Andy Wilkinson is going to be talking about the process of creativity. And in July, we finally have an illustrator, y'all. Sterling Cheney, who many of you have probably seen him around, and he was at the book festival, and he has the cutest. I gave one of his books to my nephew about Dave Gets a Turtle, and it was hilarious, and my nephew loved it. And so he's going to talk about illustrating. And then August, we're off. We're not meeting in August. September, we're going to have Jolene Navarro, who wrote for Harlequin, Love Inspired series, and she teaches a workshop on the 3-act, 8-sequence playwriting structure, movie writing structure for novelists. So how novelists can take that structure and use movies to identify the different turning points in that structure and plot that. And it's really fascinating. I'm not sure on the location yet. We're working with Luca to see if maybe we can have it there and get them involved too. But it's a fascinating workshop, and she uses a movie. We'll sit down and watch a movie. I think it's going to be The Mummy, and she's going to point out different plot points in the structure. So that's going to be great. So we have a fantastic year. So y'all are you made a wise decision to be here. All right. Okay, and for our speaker today. So y'all, you may not be able to tell it by looking at me, but I do come from the land before Google. I did write books before there was an internet. I didn't write any good books, but I did write before internet. And even I don't remember how we ever learned anything. I don't know how we ever knew a thing. I know I subscribed to a lot of magazines, and I went to the library. So a post came up recently on Facebook that I thought was really hilarious and also topical for this morning's presentation. This is from New York Public Library. Before the internet, librarians were the gatekeeper of knowledge. For your reading pleasure, the New York Public Library recently released a cache of queries and conundrums called in from the 1940s to the 1980s. And they listed a bunch of different questions, and I just selected a few that I found very interesting. If a poisonous snake bites itself, will it die? And I also want to know that. This was a question from 1962. What is the pigeon population of New York compared to the sparrow population? And they were settling an argument. Like somebody was having a fight over that. In 1946, what does a penny weigh? This is from 1947. What does it mean when you dream you're being chased by an elephant? I would also want to know that. This is 1986, when I feel like self-help stuff was really kind of taken off. How many neurotic people in the U.S.? I don't know what the source of that information would be, but that would be good to know.
All of them.
Yes, all of them. What is the total population? Yes. Okay, this is from 1976. Why do 18th century English paintings have so many squirrels in them, and how did they tame them so they wouldn't bite the painter? I feel like that was a writer question somebody was writing about. In 1983, someone wanted a list of buildings designed in the shape of fruits and vegetables. Librarians have got some stories, don't they? In 1948, so this goes under the question of, under the heading of questions that just raise more questions, but you don't want the answer to. This person wanted a how-to book on how to become a mistress of ceremonies at a musical orgy. Exactly, what? And then, no, I don't want to know. Okay. And then finally, in 1958, what is the nutritional value of human flesh? So I feel like now you would just Google like keto, human flesh, but like... Okay. So, but the truth is, we Google everything, but not everything is on the internet. And we have this wealth of deep and specific knowledge that is available to us right in our backyard. So, Joshua Salmans is assistant librarian at TTU Library, and he's going to share with us all the local resources and how to use them at Texas Tech. So, please join me in welcoming Joshua Salmans.
Yes, librarians do have a lot of stories in their back pocket.
including one from the Literacy Lubbock Book Festival. I don't know if you got a chance to go to it. I'm on the board of Literacy Lubbock, and we had a horse in the library at Mahon this year, and so that is something exciting that we librarians get to participate in. I'm a librarian because not every day is the same. I couldn't take a monotonous job. Interacting with the public and interacting with people is something that I love to do. And I've had a number of strange events in the libraries. I used to be a circulation assistant in the evening and the weekends, and that is a fun position to have in a library, especially at an academic college where you have a lot of youth and teenagers and things like that, all in the mix there. I one day was sitting at my desk checking books out to people. That's not my job now. I don't check out books. I don't organize them. I usually am involved in disorganizing the books. But one day I saw purple footprints walking into my library, and I sat there and I looked at it and I said, well, that's a little bit strange. I don't see that every day. And students just kept walking in with purple footprints, and I had to say, stop. What in the world is going on? Look at my carpet. And this building was part of the original library building, and then there was an annex with classrooms in it. And the main entrance, you had to go through the annex to get to the main entrance. I stepped outside the main entrance of the library into the classroom hallways, and it was flooded purple. It was absolutely flooded purple. And I sat there and I'm like, okay. I got out my job description and tried to figure out what in the world's going on. So I had to close the library, the main entrances, and call maintenance, and I couldn't get a hold of my director, so I called the PD, to the university PD. But anyway, I saw that the bathrooms were overflowing with purple liquid. And I was like, okay, well, apparently I went in there, they were clogged and pouring over with purple tissue paper and stuff like that. And I was just like, what in the world kind of vortex or spatial thing is going on here? And later I found out that one of the student assistants for the maintenance department had stolen taken one of the tablets that you use to dye the fountains and clogged the toilets and put the dye in there. I think they wound up with a several $1,000 fine for cleaning the carpets and things like that. And so that was my interesting story of the library. The things that we have to deal with is not too different than the mall and things like that. Let me see if I can get this to come up. I might have to switch to the PDF. All right, it's a little bit dark, but hopefully we can see it here. All right, today's story, I thought I'd prepare jokes, but somebody preceded me to it, to libraries. But I do have one joke that I'll share with you for the sake of time and stuff like that. We're going to play a little writer's bingo, and then I'm going to share a little bit about TechShare. That's where the public and state libraries join together, where you can take advantage of Texas Tech resources as a community member, and if you have a public library card. So, and then we'll also talk about creating a search statement and using our catalog, which is called OneSearch, where you can search for materials that you are able to check out of the library. And then we're going to talk about building vocabulary using indexes in our OneSearch. That way you can find different words to pull up the resources that you need. So, any guesses on how many books the TTU library has? Throw out some numbers.
400,000.
100,000.
400,000.
400,000. Going once, going twice.
Including digital.
Including digital. Okay, 400,000. Any other guesses?
700,000.
700,000.
2 million.
A million. 2 million. All right. If actually you're more on right than my PowerPoint here. There are 2 million, just over 2 million volumes in the library. I have 2.6, but we got a few. We gave away a few of them, and so those are all up in our library. Our library used to be what's called a closed stack system. The closed stack system is what that means is that you used to. Somebody mentioned before Google doing him doing. Do you remember cabinets of cards you would have to pull out, and little index cards? Well, you used to go and hand those to library staff. Library staff would go upstairs to where the books are held, and they would get the book for you. And it'll last much beyond the 70s, at least in academic libraries. You still see that in special libraries or special collection libraries or archives that you go to. Right now, Texas Tech is an open stack library. So, all right. So my one joke, and you'll like it here, I think. What's it like to be an aspiring writer? It's difficult to put into words. So I had the opportunity of actually taking an academic writing course last semester, and I got to learn about pre-writing, writing, and post-writing, and I found out I'm a true librarian. I like to do the research. I like to note take, put notes into PDFs and things like that. I have a journal full of my notes. I never actually get to the writing portion. I don't know if anybody here can identify with that. Am I among good company? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I have learned in mine, and I've had to focus. I've got a few publications going on, probably very boring publications. You probably have some very more interesting stories than I do. I wrote about librarian stuff, boring librarian stuff. But I got a few publications through it by learning how to gauge my pre-writing time and writing time, and then my post-writing time and editing. So I would like to hear a few stories from you, if that's okay. I have a little interactivity. You should have a... maybe bring up the lights a little bit more. I have a little sheet here that has a little bingo card. It's got writing prompts on it. And what I would like for you to do is you can get with a partner, you can do it individually, or you can get with a row of people, 3. And I'm going to give you about 8 to 10 minutes to create a story using 5 of the connected writing prompts here. So it has to be one story, but you connect that story with the 5 writing prompts here. So I'm going to give you about 8 to 10 minutes.
Dan's left out. Dan, you want us to slide over and join you?
That would be good.
Slide back. Matt, you gonna play?
Got it. Let them see the
You do
writing.
not have to write it out. If you can respond verbally, that's okay. I might pick a few. We won't go through all of them.
Can they see it?
Most of it, got a little further up. And to the left. It's pretty close.
Okay, look, tears of weeping and a
Oh, wow, you're already getting in there. Sure.
And that last wheel is ready, that was nice tears.
Mathis, would you tap in there? with the-
Yes, in a series.
Picture.
Yeah, just like bingo.
Yeah.
What you're going to do is you're going to pick a series. They can be diagonal, they can be up and down, they can be across, and to establish bingo.
Okay, we have to be
Yeah, or write out the story, synopsis.
They did somebody.
What's that? 10 minutes.
Sacrifice.
Seems like I have a little flexibility. It doesn't have to be a novel. Yes, connected together. Yeah. Across, diagonal.
Yeah.
Uh,
See, that would make sense. Right next to it. Oh, because this way.
Because any farther out, it becomes less.
yes.
And the top becomes too
The right
small for you.
choice.
Okay, we like it ways are acceptable too.
Someone makes a heroic sacrifice and they move out and they promise that they will come back and do something. Well, let's look at this one. A night terror. This one makes tears of weeping. The last wheel is red. The character returns home. That's good too. Yeah, these are good.
Yes. You're done. Bingo. Oh, you got to fix it. You got to do the post writing portion. As long as you can tell the story.
It's famous
Right.
So are we
Any five?
Any five?
Or as, was it Kid? What was your name? As Charlotte said, as we like it, rules.
All right. So anything can happen there. Right?
Are we all going to the same place?
What else is going to add to that?
Well, we have
Okay, so that'll be someone they greet on the way in, someone who's performing, or someone who maybe
Thank you. And I'm not Irish.
How was your work this morning? Oh, it was good. It was better than yesterday, for sure. How about you? Today it was today was good.
That's great. No, we can work that out. They might not know the applications first. She might not know the way in. So that could work. So we right about the
They're haulers.
The palms and the elbows.
and you stopped at the and you didn't even
So we need to pick two more.
creative juices was really flowing over there.
Can't drink something today.
All right, we got a couple of groups with some stories, I think.
These are college kids.
So, here's the it's called.
There's really two character bits, place they always wanted to see to get them there.
Yeah. And then somebody makes a rule example.
If you use the writer's choice box, you can pick your own prompt or add your own piece to it, or as we like it box there.
Okay. You're the one to tell it.
Where's that one? Okay, great. I like it.
It's two. That makes sense. Because I can't. I'll just, you'll figure it out. You'll do it on the spot. That's good teachers.
This reminds me of government, my book, government.
Yeah, that's the next one I looked at.
No,
Not yet.
I was just done a lot of research.
So character bits.
I did my research online, and I found a lot.
How many people are coming about to a close? We're over here. Some people still working on it. Take about another 3 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes.
You were telling me, and that's why I got it next one up there. I had to finish a few other things.
Okay.
I said,
Okay, now I'm with that. Now if he smiles, then
All right, even if you're not through, let's see if, how many, we've got a few people with some stories. So any volunteers to give a little rundown?
Pointing me or behind?
what's that?
Were you pointing me or behind?
Right to you.
Okay. All right, my story is the right-hand column. Claire goes to a Dallas Cowboy game because she's always wanted to see a Cowboy game in person. She gets to flirting with a guy while she's there. They get together for dinner and drinks after the game. She's starting to fall for him when he makes the heartbreaking confession that he's a time traveler, but he will come back to see her.
And what were you writing from?
The right-hand column.
The right-hand column. All right, sweet.
All right. How was that? Did he meet all the writing prompts?
yeah.
All right, sweet, sweet. All right. Do I have another volunteer?
Sure, yeah.
I think. Oh, you want over here? Okay.
I think we're listening to each other here as we develop our stories down the right-hand side. So this is Joe Warren, an aspiring writer from West Texas. He always wanted to go to a Dallas Cowboys football game, so he saved up his life savings to pay for the parking spot and a ticket. And he got up on the concourse, and he's walking up the concourse, and he sees this beautiful girl a couple steps ahead of him going the same direction. He recognizes her from high school, and he runs up and taps her on the shoulder, and she spins around. It's the wrong person. It's a transgender. And Joe just chokes, doesn't know what to say, and he's probably, I'm sorry, I never meant to create a problem at all. And the usher saw something going on, and they came running down, and they thought Joe was one of the grandnephews of Jerry Jones, and so they took him up to a place he always wanted to go, which was the private box of Jerry Jones. And he got to go up there, and Jerry's talking to him and said, "Oh, you're the great lost cousin that we never had, and I'm so glad to find you, and I'm going to put you in my will, and you'll be a millionaire." And then Joe had to make a heartbreaking confession that he was Joe Warren, an aspiring writer from Lubbock, Texas.
What were your writing prompts? The right-hand side. Is that going to be a popular, that right-hand side? What are those right-hand side ones?
Someone attends a sports event, character flushes the wrong person, character makes a promise,
Character visits a place they always wanted to see, and there's a heartbreaking confession.
All right. Heartbreaking confession. All right.
Thank you. Good morning. All right, we warped bingo space-time and picked them from different places. I'll give you the prompts first. Character visits a place they always wanted to see. Someone smiles on a natural smile. Character makes a promise. Write about a carnival. Write about a night of terror. So, every October, a dark carnival comes to the Home Depot parking lot in Lubbock, Texas. And this character has always wanted to go there and see that, but they couldn't get one of their friends to go, so the young lady goes alone. On the way in, she's greeted by a handsome rogue in a dark charcoal three-piece suit with a faded red carnation in his pocket. He smiles, a very deep, piercing, unnatural smile, and welcomes her to the carnival and makes her a promise that she will not leave without her life being changed tonight. Dun, dun, dun. The carnival begins. That's it. And the prompts were, visits a place they always wanted to see, smiles on a natural smile, makes a promise, write about a carnival, write about a night of terror.
Thank you very much. Those are amazing stories. Do we have time for one last one? Do we have any other volunteers?
All right, mine is the second to left column from bottom to top. So an only child was called and said, "Your rich mother's about to die. You need to come home." She dies as soon as he gets home. Goes to the lawyer. They read the will to him. He immediately starts crying, falls out and faints on the floor. Found out she left all her money to her cat shelter. And he had a nightmare that night because he realized he quit his job before he went there because he thought he was getting all her money.
That is good. All right. Any others? Sure.
The writing prompt, I guess it's called the writing prompt, right? On bingo, is characters decide to move in together. We went straight across. There are tears and weeping. Writer's choice. Someone makes a heroic sacrifice. Character makes a promise. Here's our quick story. Two middle-aged people, Win and Vera. After dating for 2 years, decide to move in together. Win is overwhelmed. There are tears and weeping because they're tears of joy. He believes he found the love of his life. Writer's choice. The place they decide to move into is flooded. And so they have to make a decision the day they moved in. And so they make a decision. They have to move into Vera's mother's place. There's a lot of discussion about this on whether or not Vera's mother would be happy having Win in their house, not knowing how long it would be.
And whether Vera even wants to move back in with her mother, with Win, and whether Win wants to do that as well. So all three people sacrifice.
And so Win makes a promise to Vera, telling her that he'll live anywhere with her in the story.
Oh.
Anything to add?
Thank you, Win. Those are all just incredible stories, and we know that best-selling novels and stuff like that usually take a little bit more priming and a little bit more research and to actually get it to that novel stage. But thank you so much. Just such creative minds in here. I really appreciated each one of the stories and how you put together different writing prompts. I've got a journal at home with all the different writing prompts about my life. So a life journal, and that thing is scary. So, but I try to write as often as I can. But what I want to do today is kind of give you a few tools from the library and some ways of thinking about how to search using library resources. That way you can get those books and the research that you need from libraries. So the TTU libraries, we're made up of, how many are there? There's like four. Four different libraries. The university libraries, that's usually for our undergrad and grad students, the general population. We have about 2 million volumes. We are ranked in the top third for the North American research libraries. We're also a member of the Association of Research Libraries, which has certain quotas and things that you have to meet to become an ARL library. I think last year we had 12,130 loans and over 16,000 articles delivered to our patrons. We have about 400 databases. Unfortunately, vendors make us kind of tightly control those, access to those articles because publishers want to make money. And so it has to identify you as a TTU affiliated person, whether that's staff, faculty, or staff, faculty, students. I'm forgetting students there. Sorry for the Rick Perry moment. So, but the university libraries also host a lot of databases and things that are kind of connected to the public library as well. The state library has a system where you can get access to some of the databases that are similar to ours. We also have the Southwest Collection, special collections, and one of them are going to get upset with me. It's the Southwest Collection Special Collection Library. You have to have both those together, you upset people. Librarians and archivists, we're very picky about our names.
So are you saying there's a special way that we can participate with Texas Tech?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll share that here in just a moment, where you can check out our books. Unfortunately, you'll have limited access to our databases as a community member. However, some of that can be made up through the public library, or actually it's the state library. We have the law library as well. Someone here said they had a spouse that was a lawyer? Law professor. Yeah, it is the largest legal information center in western Texas, eastern New Mexico, and southern Oklahoma. And we also have the architecture library. Their collections include design, urban planning, and landscape architecture, reserve, instruction, and I think instruction and circulation. So they are a circulating library, and they do have some, and they are cataloged along with the university libraries. All of these are cataloged with the university libraries, so you can go to one system and find all of the materials. And you can check them out. The law library has some stipulations on some physical items and stuff like that, but most of those are open for you as well. Now, getting to the part where you have access and what you might care about. How many here has a public library card? All right. Well, I hope writers would be readers. I remember poetry class, my professor told me that you have to read 1,000 books to write one poem. And that is a daunting feature and part of and he was an avid reader and has several anthologies of poetry out there. But there is a service that the state library puts together, and it's called TechShare. TechShare is a consortium of Texas libraries, and we are a member, so is Mahon Public Library, where you can share print and electronic materials, online resources, and other types of services. They're available to patrons participating in libraries all across Texas, regardless of institution type. So sometimes that includes special libraries and things like that. If you have a TechShare card, you can get on a plane and go to, here in Texas, you got to get on a plane to go to a different city. I moved here from South Carolina. I'm used to just jumping. You can go down to San Antonio and you can use the libraries there. You can go to Austin, use UT's libraries through TechShare. I put a QR code up there in case you wanted to. I don't know if it will actually respond, but I've got the URL there, or you can Google TechShare and it will come up. You will need to go to if you don't have a public library card, you need to go to the library and get you a public library card. While you're there, if you have one, ask one of the librarians for a TechShare card. It's a little red card. And get that card, and you will be able to check out books from Texas Tech Libraries. So that is there for you. It is a service. Somehow I think you pay for it through taxes or something like that already, so you might as well use it and be able to partake in it. Yes? Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. It's tsl.texas.gov. And that should get you /TechShare. And that should get you it will give you an explanation of all the different resources. There are databases on there, including educational resources, dictionaries, encyclopedias, different types of research databases on there as well, census, and other types of data that would be there available for you. All right, our website is library.ttu.edu, and it kind of looks like this. You'll have color squares and things like that. There are a lot of resources that are only for TTU students, but the OneSearch, we call it OneSearch, it's kind of like Google. The OneSearch will search everything that we have and beyond. You can access it and use it without being a TTU student. If you go to I think it's like USC Berkeley or something like that, Berkeley likes to hide theirs, so you can't even look at their catalog unless they're, unless you go to another source. I know how to publicly access it, but they don't let you directly access their catalog. We do. And so it's accessible to the public, and I'll show you some tips and tricks on how to use this in just a moment. But I want to really start with creating what you're going to put in that box, into the search box. How many here, I have seen this over, even with grad students, I've seen this over and over again. They have a begging research question in their mind, and they put that entire sentence into Google. How effective is that usually? Google's getting smarter. Back in the day, that would have been terrible. Google's getting smarter, and so are databases, where sometimes you're lucky. You can throw that whole question in there, and it kind of comes up with some resources that might be pertinent. It depends on what you're looking for and how deep into the resources that your search statement or your information need requires. But a statement just tells the database what information to search for. It's kind of like an algorithm. It gives the database, or Google is just a large compendium of a search engine, which is just a bigger form of database. And it tells the database what to pull up and put on that first, second, third, whatever page. The trick with Google is they don't tell you how they do that. They keep that proprietary information. Libraries, on the other hand, like the public library, the databases that we have, they tell you how or why they're putting things in. There's a whole bunch of librarian speak and stuff about algorithms and database structure and things like that. I'm not one of those librarians. I won't try to explain it. But I have an example of a very complicated one that I would never actually use. But I put it there because it uses a lot of the structures there. I don't know if you can see it here. It's kind of hidden by art. So, but anyway, this is it uses parentheses, it uses ors and ands, and it uses all sorts of things that tell the database what to do. So, how do I create a search statement? The first thing I like to identify in any research question is content versus, and that's supposed to be functional words. Some people call it form words. If you're in English, you might, or have taught English as a second or foreign language, you might be familiar with them. Content words carry the most meaning in a sentence. They're the subjects, verbs, adjectives. I think some of you have some experience with some of those. Functional words, those carry very little meaning, or they have or functional meanings. They're like prepositions, articles, pronouns, and auxiliary verbs. Some of you need to use these. But anyway, I've got a little research question here, or a research prompt. I think, Kim, you gave it to me. Oh, KJ's. Okay. I sat there thinking for a little bit about some of these. I was like, okay. It made me think. All right. This one, it's kind of hard to read, so I'll read it for you. For a time travel book in which a character brings bubonic plague from 1666 to 2004 Puerto Rico. I need information on quarantine hospital protocols during 2004 hurricane. What I did here, and you may not be able to see it here because it's kind of dark, but I highlighted the content words, some of the content words that I think would be important, that I want to isolate from functional words, prepositions and things like that. So here I've got bubonic plague highlighted, I've got Puerto Rico, I've got quarantine hospital protocols, and 2004 hurricane highlighted. Those are the words that I primarily want to work with when encountering either Google or databases. So that's what I've highlighted here. I want to show you some tools of putting together now what to do with, now that we have kind of a concentration of what those words should be. Some tools that you will need to make a search statement. Those are your, if you've ever seen in databases or in Google, Google has a weird way of doing it, but you can do it in Google. And I'll let you take pictures. There's and, or, nots. And I won't go too deep into them, but ands help you narrow down the criteria to where it has to mention both terms. Here, in this case, puppy and kitten. Where it will narrow down and get you less results, even in Google. In Google, you use a plus sign. That will plus and minus if you want to use, like, minus is on the not. And or is kind of just defaulted. So if you put just a string of words into Google, it kind of interprets that as or. But here you have, these are called Boolean operators. And they help you through that. They're just logic things, basic logic. Other search tools that you can use. Some of them work in Google. Some others are pretty standard among databases. And I try to see how get out of the way so some of you can see it. There's a wildcard where you can substitute a vowel. So you can pick up both woman and women. There's truncation, where you can pick up not only computer, but computation, and what's some other words with a computer, computation, other things like that. It will pick up all of the whatever's left, whatever ending from the root word. Parentheses will, kind of like in math, it will give you an order to solve first. So this one, dogs or cats, and shows or parade, it will solve that, everything in the parentheses first in the search results. Quotation marks will treat the phrase as one phrase. So it will look for literature review together. If you just throw literature review into Google or into the database, what you'll wind up with is it will treat it as an or and and. So it will look for literature and review instead of literature review together. And then there's things called limiters, where you can limit by dates. Those are where you can limit by dates. You can limit by access type, whether it's full text or abstracted, meaning it only has a synopsis of the item. Or it can do by geography. It can do it by funding agency. It can do it by publisher, things like that. So these are things that you can help. There are other tools, such as databases help, or search tips, or indexes that they use too. And indexes help build words. I always like to build a vocabulary before I start a search. So now it's your turn. I would like for you to find content and functional words from this. Let me see, is it even legible up here? For a murder mystery series featuring an amateur sleuth who drives a bookmobile during World War II in the British countryside or occupied Channel Islands. So what are some content words out of there? What are some words that are important, carry the most meaning? World War II, absolutely. Any others? What's that? Murder. Yes, murder ministry. Yes, it carries meaning. Any others? British. Very good. Any others? Channel Islands. Yeah. So that's practically what you're doing, is eliminating all the 4s, A's, any type of articles or anything like that. So that's kind of the first thing to do when you go to it. So when you come back to a database here, that's what you would put in our one search. Let me see. We also have an advanced, let me go back. There's, the one search has, if you can see that one little bar, it looks like a Google bar. You can try typing all that stuff in. Sometimes that works, but the database actually treats that search bar a little bit different than it does what's called the advanced search. The advanced search up here can actually lead you to more tools. I'm glad I took screenshots of these. I might try to use the internet a little bit, but the search tool will usually have multiple areas where you can put in words and things like this. We also have where you can search everything. Everything is kind of like Google. It will search everything, including things we don't have. The library catalog will search things that the library owns and has available physically. That's probably, if you're going to check out as a community user, you're probably going to want to use the library catalog. Otherwise, the books or articles you may or may not have access to. And so this is something that you can do here, is just switch it to library catalog. You can also change it to law library or for course reserves. The search scope here, there is a way you can actually narrow it down to a certain type of collection, which is like if you want the Southwest collection or anything like that, you can search in that. So this is kind of where you would use the ors or the ands or the parentheses or anything like that and do it line by line. one of the things that I like to show people is our subject indexes. This becomes helpful after you've, I wouldn't do it at first, but if you're really wanting to narrow down your search, like you've Googled it to death, you've Googled your research thing to death, and you're just not getting what you want, or you've tried everything just using regular keywords, there are kind of like file cabinets, electronic or digital file cabinets, that librarians and the people who build these subject indexes kind of put those into a specific order under a specific subject. And so I'm going to see if the internet will work here and see if I can't bring up the university. This is our one search, and I'm going to try one of our what were we looking for? One of the prompts, bubonic plague and 2004 hurricane, Puerto Rico. Let me see if I can type and hold the microphone at the same time. Let me see. I'm going to just do bubonic plague for the... Is it kind of... I'm having trouble reading that. I'm getting old. There we go. Bubonic plague. I'm not going to make it any more complicated than that. But anyway, I'm going to just press the word search there, bubonic plague. First, there are some tools here that you can use, but what I want to do is actually go to Browse and browse by subject. And what that will do is give you access to all those filing cabinets with the cards and everything in a digital way. And it will help you out with kind of narrowing down very specific parts of different subjects like bubonic plague. And hopefully I spelled bubonic correctly. Is that correct? All right, bubonic. And I'm going to try. There you go. I didn't win any spelling bees when I was. And somehow I wound up being a librarian. All right. This is going to be hard to see. Let me see if I can zoom in. Let's see. Okay. I spelled something wrong, didn't I? What's that? This is where Google comes into. Bubonic plague. Okay, it is spelled correctly. All right. So let's take out and just do plague. Is plague spelled right? All right. All right. So now I can take down and look at plague and the different. This will narrow it down by geographic region. Here, plague, Austria, plague, Baltic Sea region, plague, Byzantine Empire, plague, California, San Francisco history, China. These are very important little filing cabinets. And what I like to do is take one of these, and you have to copy them just right. I usually just copy and paste and put them into a database, put them right back in to where they need to be. And see, you can see that plague has 21 books in our library. So, and then there's like a 14th century drama. You see that there's one record. But anyway, I'm looking for bubonic plague. I'm surprised that it's in there somewhere. What's that? There's a comic book one. Oh, comic book. Okay, strips and plague. Okay. So these are hyperlinks, so you can go directly to them. Oh.
Black Death.
Black Death, yeah. Yeah, it was called that and stuff like. And that's things you have to keep in mind. I build a working knowledge of what it is. What other words lead to that same topic? And that's the thing of building perseverance with Google or databases or things like that. So here's the what this came up with, and it would be available. If you see available, then it's available in our library and with the stacks. You don't have an account, so you can't save your searches, but you can save your search for that one time that you're there. So if you have a book there, you can grab it, put it in a pin. I don't know how visible that is. But you can grab those and say that you want them and come back to them later when you go up to the pin up here. You can cite if you need the citation. Citation tools will allow you to cite in any type of format that you need to cite it. Yeah. Down to the punctuation and stuff like that, so you can do that. If you're, if those results aren't what you're, I'm going to go back. If those results aren't what you're looking for or something like that, you can go back to plague, enter it as a keyword. Let me do a new search. I'm going to do plague again. And what this will bring up is everything that we, it prioritizes what we own, but I'm going to change it to library catalog. And on the side there is a whole bunch of, it's called Tweak My Results. And you can limit it to everything available in our library. So for plague there's 857. And you can mess with the dates, 1500 to 2022, material type, books, streaming videos, audio, government docs, things like that. You can also do subject. This is what I like right here. This will break it down. It's kind of hard to see over here, but the subject on the left-hand side will give you more words to work with. So it has plague, Great Britain, English literature, epidemic. We have 52 resources on epidemic. United States, geographical region, communicable diseases, and stuff like that. That's all on the left-hand side where you can get and develop more keywords and understand how many resources we have in those little niches under the subject area. So that is something that I like to keep up with and try to use in all the tools that I have, is to try to play with words. And you're writers, so you play with words all the time. You have to do the same thing with databases. Just like the example with Black Death, bubonic plague. I don't know if it have here, you just have to play with the database a little bit. And I want to see what actually happens when I put in the search term bubonic plague without a subject. Let me just go to it. Somehow this is, let me refresh. Well, I think my computer may be giving out on us. Well, anyway, that's kind of the tools that I wanted to show you and how to think about search strategies in any type of library catalog. TechShare has databases too that you can access with your public library card through the Mahan Public Library. Just ask your librarian over there and they can help you out with that. That will get you closer to the electronic databases that we have. They have some of the same sources that we have in that database, and that is available to you as well. There's also the Southwest Collection and Archive. All of those materials are available to you as well. If you go to the Southwest Collection, if you Google Southwest Collection, Texas Tech, it will take you to their website. There are collections. Those are available in the reading room at Texas Tech for you. They're kind of strict. They'll take your backpack and your pens and things like that. And I think you can take your cell phone in there. But you'll have the opportunity to interact with the materials at the Southwest Collection, which includes rare books. It includes a 16th century globe in there if you've ever been in there. There's a lot of different resources for in the university archives, as well as history, local history, Lubbock. There's different collections about Lubbock and There's digital collections as well. You can look on their digital collections and get Texas newspapers. You'll get images. You'll get different poets and writers in this area. There's also the Salwell collection, which is available here with another author and writer. So there's a lot of available tools there. Okay, my computer decided to wake up. But are there any questions about Texas Tech Libraries and access to it? Yes?
Isn't there a large collection of Vietnam history and memorabilia?
The Southwest Collection holds the Vietnam Archive. It is the second largest Vietnam archive, second to Ho Chi Minh. We have 5 helicopters in remote storage, and you have to get permission to go see them. But we have all sorts. I've been in the vault, and there are all sorts of. It's not just books and papers. There are vehicles. There are equipment, soldier memorabilia, diaries, and things like that, both in Vietnamese and English and some of the other Asian languages. Yes. But they're technically separate from Texas Tech.
Okay, I thought they were with you.
They're
in your library.
We like to play with each other, but they're functionally a different institution. But yeah, okay. But you have access to their materials there also. Any other questions?
So in the digital collection, so like I use the Libby app to check books out from the main library. I use the Libby app. Does Tech Library do they use a similar like OneDrive or Libby or apps like that, or would you just like access it?
These would be like JPEG and PDF. It's not going to quite be as user-friendly as Libby. That's a good, I like Libby too. I use that myself from the public library. But we do have a searchable engine in there that's, that you can look for digital images. They've got association minutes in there as well. They've got different newspapers, even defunct ones that were local ones, privately owned newspapers and stuff like that, available digitized.
One thing, this is not a question, it's just a statement, but something that I found really fascinating, I didn't realize that I would be able to access are tech students' dissertations and theses that you can access. And some of them are, a lot of them just really fascinating. And so that might be a way to kind of narrow down, like looking at research that someone else has already done, you know, and there is a wealth of really interesting information. And of course, the people in the creative writing program, their dissertations and theses are there. And so, you know, it's not all nonfiction stuff. There's some fiction there as well.
Absolutely, and now there are things in the archives called zines too that are being digitized, more modern, like magazine-looking artwork and stuff like that. So artwork is making its way into theses and dissertations as well. That is available to you. Most of the Southwest Collection digital archives and stuff is, especially with the local area, most of that stuff is Lubbock and open to Lubbock. Actually open to the entire world because just access to it may not be digital. Some of it you may have to go in and do the reading. They've got microfilm and microfiche, which we still put out orders for those today. A lot of people don't know that, especially for things we're not allowed to digitize where we are still sending out for microfiche and microfilm. If anyone. What's that? There are copyright laws for certain materials and stuff where you cannot create a digital archive or digital database of them. Yeah. And that includes, we are a federal and a federal and state repository too, and that includes a lot of state materials as well. More and more in that stuff is going to remote storage. But our entire basement, or down in the basement, the dungeon of the library, there's where the F5 tornado shelter is where the government docks, the state and government docks. But they're pretty interesting if you're looking for different local information. State and local documents are there, and is searchable through our catalog here as well. I think there's even a way you can limit it to a government doc collection there as well. And so, yes?
You were talking about images from the Southwest collection. As I understand, most of those are copyrighted.
They can be copyrighted, so you got to be careful how you use them and stuff like that. So, and you do, it usually gives a prompt, or there's information on how to cite the archive. So, yes, it's a little bit different than Google. If you kind of use the images, or if you put the images into your book or something like that, you got to cite and get permission. Sometimes, and those are controlled a lot by the donors of those images, and families, estates will dictate how the archive is to treat them. So sometimes the copyrights are different from image to image and article to article. The Southwest collection, if you're on campus and you see the big radiator, that's the university libraries. It's supposed to look like a bookshelf. I always thought the pigeonholes and things like that. I don't know. When I look at it, I see a radiator. So anyway, it's right there on the 18th and Boston thing. It is to the north of the university library. It looks like a castle to me, the Southwest collection. And so you go in there. There are some local, including a Preston Smith exhibit there. There's some other exhibits. I forget what exhibits are currently on. But they have exhibits there that you can freely walk into and look at. Weston Marshall is the reference librarian for the Southwest collection, and is a really good help for getting materials and local research. So that person is good to know, because they have a lot of knowledge of different. Because archives, I like to say, they have skeletons, and getting connected to the right librarian of that collection is usually the best option. Because finding aids can get a little difficult to understand and stuff like that, but a librarian can get down into it. Oh yes, I know how to get to that artifact or something. It's amazing how knowledge there, as much as it's amazing how much isn't cataloged, because they go through, they're constantly cataloging things that they've been working on for years, and so not everything is all cataloged, so it keeps growing month to month. You'll see the catalog here grow. So it's useful to, if you don't find something at first, to search again and do it again. Any other questions?
Well, speaking along those lines, I know that on campus, like different departments have a contact person, have a librarian who's, specifically if you're searching for engineering or. So if for just, someone from the public coming off the street, is there someone like that who would be the best contact person, or you just?
I would, what I would do in that is, I would call our service desk, and they would be able to alert you to the right librarian. We all have subject expertise or areas that we cover. As part of the university library, if you're looking for general collection materials that's in the big radiator building, You can also reach out to me as well. I can connect you.
We have contact now.
Yeah, you have a contact. And so let me put my contact information up. Let me just pull this one up. I do put up, I'm quite infamous here. You can find me. Oh, it doesn't. I can make sure it's out on an email or something like that. I meant to bring my cards, but I forgot them in my office. It's been quite a busy week and stuff like that. But yeah, if you need help, feel free to reach out to me, and I can get you connected to the right, whether it's in the Southwest Collection. I know all the archivists, and I can connect you to the right person. Sometimes, depending on how in-depth your research is, the reference librarian, as good as they are, sometimes you need to dig a little deeper and see if an archivist get connected to the archivists themselves, figure out who that, and I would be a good connection point for trying to figure out what their responsibilities are. I cover philosophy, museum heritage science, and women's and gender studies. And so those are my areas that I cover. Any other questions? They often work with each other, and they do sometimes share collections, or have a collection on exhibit over the TTU Museum. So they're constantly working with each other, but it has a different organizational structure and things like that. So yeah, there's usually confusion between an archivist and a museum a curator, and but they work with each other a lot. So you'll see this exhibits where it will say courtesy of the Southwest Collection, or yeah, a matter of fact, sometimes you will have collections shared even through other museums in the state, and also with universities in our local area, things like that. South Plains College had part of a remnant trust collection that we were hosting. It's owned by another, but we were hosting them for a long while, stuff like that. So collections come in and out sometimes. Yeah. All right, well, you have been a great crowd. Thanks for going with me and creating stories. I like that. If you have a story or anything and need it here, I can talk and listen. But I love to talk and things like that. So, and I love stories. So I was very happy when Kim and that you invited me out here to come and speak with you.
Thank you very much. That was really interesting. Before you all leave, I want you to meet everybody in this room. There's a lot of faces that I haven't talked to yet, so come find me, or I'll come find you. And I don't mean that in a creepy way. I just mean let's mingle. You're here to meet other authors. I know we all kind of hide in our basements, but here we are. We're all here. So reach out, meet some other folks. Just the reminders. March 28th. Oh, let me get a show of hands. Who's interested in the critique group? Oh, good. All right. So make sure you come to that meeting. If you can't, reach out and we'll give you updates and stuff. Yeah. It's March 28th, 7 p.m. in the Go to Key Library. And you can Google it, but we also have it in the newsletter with a little link to the map. It's off of 50.
It's by Lowe's.
It's by Lowe's. Frankfurt and 58 or somewhere right in there. Also near Ashley's Homefront. Next meeting, remember, it's April 2nd. Don't come on the 9th because we're all going to be over at the Art Festival. You can come there, come visit there. April 9th, and then if you have donations, bring them to our April 2nd meeting. We have some books that have been donated, but we're also looking for unused things. But we would really like your books because then we can show you off to people that are visiting. October 15th, if you're interested in the book festival and having a table to sell your books, go online. I'll send the link out shortly, but find them at Literacy Lubbock or Lubbock Book Festival and sign up. And then, open board positions, if you're interested or just slightly curious, there's no pressure. If you want to find out more about what those positions are, come chat with me or any one of our board members. And that's it. Thank you all. Appreciate you coming.